One problem facing people at many levels of business is how to make time for a work life and a personal life. Do you find that one seems to keep getting in the way of the other? This is the Work-Life Balance with Rick Morris. Even if you're not involved in the business world, you'll have a lot to gain by tuning in to today's show. Now, here is your host, Rick Morris.
And welcome to another edition of the Work-Life Balance. I'm so excited to have you guys along. We're going to have a fantastic show today. I'm coming off an incredibly busy week. We were in Denver, Colorado all week, got home last night, had a speech, was welcomed by the IIBA in Birmingham today, and I spoke to them at their professional development day, and now here for all of you guys. So super excited to be here. Now, next week, remember, we'll be in Philadelphia, Buffalo, and Atlanta. So any listeners around there, just reach out to me. We'd love to meet up and say hello to you. So I don't want to do a whole lot of lead in today because I'm so excited to get to our guest. She is the founder and CEO of Freedom Financial Group. And she really came from humble beginnings as a rural North Dakota farm girl to build a multi-million-dollar financial services company. As an accomplished leader with proven results, her unique style and approach enables clients to achieve extraordinary and sustainable results. Now, she's fueled by other people's growth with over 25 years of solid experience, which is amazing because she's only 28 years old. She's built a holistic planning firm based on the core principles to educate, empower, and equip individuals. Beyond that, as a philanthropist, she is passionate about helping people in her community, state, country, and the world. And since 2016, she actively serves around the world, but is very focused on Costa Rica when we talk about that. And now she believes that it's not just education, but education with action and insight that is key. She strives to plant seeds in fertile soil to help businesses, communities, and nations have an abundant harvest. So please welcome my dear friend, Marissa Nehlson. How are you, Marissa?
How's it going? Thanks for having me today.
Oh, we're so excited. I mean, I just came back from an event that, we do the International Maxwell Certification. It's a huge thing. This year, it was technically hosted by Marissa by the amount of time she hit stage.
It was a great day. It was a great honor. Monday was a fun day for me.
Right? So you were on stage roughly 68 times, if I was counting, about how much you actually did on that stage, right?
Well, I was definitely working on Monday. It was a good day. But to be able to share the stage with John C. Maxwell, I mean, number one leadership guru in the world, right? So I was so humbled and so honored to be part of that, just to be able to be interviewed by him and then all of the great speakers that we had. It was just a blown away moment for me. So thank you.
So unfortunately, it goes downhill. So you just got interviewed by John C. Maxwell and then now me. So it's just a downhill slide from here is all I'm going to say. So
not true. Not true.
Introduce yourself to our audience. I know that you've got a great story just kind of about how you were brought up, how you got into this business. If you would share that with us.
Yeah, I'm a North Dakota farm girl. And after my folks divorced, we moved into a 2-bedroom trailer house with 8 kids and my mom as a single mom. And my aunt came to town. I was 17 years old. And she said, hey, I'm going to give you $5 if you just take this index box of cards and you make calls and you set up insurance appointments for me. I said, I'm sorry, what? Did you say you would give me $5 for every phone call I make to set up an appointment for you? Now, I'm all over this. I said, well, what do I need to say? So I built a script with her. And then she would leave town and she'd come back and she'd spend about 3 days a week in town. And literally from the time of 7:30 in the morning, which was the time I could set her very first appointment, to 9 o'clock at night, which is the very last appointment of the day I could set, I gave her a half hour to eat lunch. That was it. you get a half hour, sister, because I'm making $5 a call. So $5 a call, and I booked her solid. And then I made some really tough choices and got pregnant at 18 and had my first baby. And she said, you're so good at this deal here. She said, maybe you should think about going into the insurance world. And I said, what do I got to do? So I got all my insurance licensing. You get those big mounds of manuals and got the books, got studying, and then got my license. And then I couldn't get hired because I was 18. No one would hire me. So I found this little cruddy company, and I'm not going to name the name because that's how you get sued. You know how that works.
Yeah.
So I went to work for this little tiny company, and I said, I'm going to get so good that a really good company is going to hire me, and got so good that a really good company hired me. And that $5 was a huge lesson for me, because it was that little bit of a goal. It was that little bit of that purpose that you could put in front of me, where I knew I could change the direction of my life for me and for my baby girl. And I had an opportunity. I heard a quote by Zig Ziglar, and he said, if you help enough people get what they want, you can get what you want. And then I started listening to all these things, and for personal development, it just really started my career. And that was the kickoff. So I started in insurance and then went into financial planning and built a team for holistic planning. We have tax planners, legal planners, financial planners, wealth management, insurance brokerage house. We have it all. We're a one-stop shop for holistic planning now. So it's been a phenomenal ride over the last 25 years. Although if you've been my client for 25 years, the big secret is that I'm still 31.
Yeah. Or 28. Yeah. I call it 28. 28
God bless
forever.
You, Rick. I love you, Rick. Thank you.
When I got a chance to meet your lovely daughter for the first time, I was so excited. And that was good times. And while we were there, you were talking about this kind of new path that you were taking. It's not a new path, but you were going to go get certified in working in new training. How did that go?
Well, we both got introduced to this way back in Costa Rica, which that's another story, right?
Oh yeah.
But the leadership that we saw there with something called roundtables. Roundtables actually came about. This training that I went to actually came about from Benjamin Franklin. So if you're a Wikipedia, Google search person, you can look it up. But roundtables is really a productivity and values-based conversation for you, for your family, for your community, and John Maxwell is using it obviously for country transformation. But I got trained in for several days. We really just went through the experience of a roundtable. But where it affected me in a roundtable, and what that is you every week, every day, focus on a value for your life. And the key to that is that you take those values and by daily focus, small actions over time lead to great change, right? Yeah, so I learned the value of this actually when I was in Costa Rica, and I had to go be a facilitator on forgiveness. I don't know if you did this one too, Rick, but yeah. So I'm in Costa Rica, and I get this like pow, there's times when it just hits you between the eyes. And I was thinking about my son, and several years ago I had gone through a divorce, and I made some really just, as people do, I made some bad life choices about the words that I said and the things that I did during that time. And I knew that I had hurt my children through all of the chaos between me and my ex-husband. I knew that I'd hurt my kid the most. And I called him and I said, Gabe, I learned a lesson today about values. And the lesson that I learned was about forgiveness. And I'm just going to right now beg you for your forgiveness and say, I'm really sorry for how I hurt you, how I, said things that you never should have heard, how you were put into places where you never should have been. And that's in between, bad relationships gone bad. I mean, we were like housewives meet, Jerry Springer meet. Oh man, it was crazy days, it was crazy. But my son, my relationship with him, the power and effect of these roundtables. Rick, I've done some cool stuff in my world and run multi-million-dollar business and be able to serve people and love on them and help them. But when you don't learn this value and you aren't focused on this, the transformation had to start with me, and now it's begun in my family. And really, since the beginning of the year, the transformation in my family is remarkable. There's no other word for it. And it started with really learning how to forgive and what that looked like and what is that value. And then I started looking at other parts of how these roundtables can work and the productivity that it can bring to my company, to the marketplace, to the people around me, how I can add value to my clients in things like conflict resolution. That, forgiveness is part of conflict resolution.
Sure.
How we connect with each other. So yeah, that was my start to roundtables, and I just got trained with just these extraordinary leaders. There were actually I think 13 different nations there that were being represented in this roundtable training. Folks from Ghana to all over South America. It was really wild, and we all got trained to bring these back to our states, our countries, our nations, and most importantly, our homes. You want to have a better marriage? It starts with values, and it starts with being focused on that. You want to have a better work-life balance, right? You want to have a better life in general and relationships with your kids. These are all things I don't care if you make $20 million a year or $2 a year. Everybody wants a good life. We all don't wake up and say, hey, I'll strive for a crappy life today. What can I do to make my life fall apart? Right.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. So,
and what I think was interesting, and we're going to get into Costa Rica here in a second. We're coming up on a break here, but I was prepared to go love on people. That's what we went to go do. Yeah. And was completely unprepared for the impact that it had on me, especially as we went through to model the behavior and had to kind of look inside ourselves. That was one of the most transformational experiences, and I won't miss another country trip. I know that. I know that for sure.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to get trained on this, so that I had the opportunity to go take this back to people, to the companies I work with. So yeah.
And that was Mike Pullen? Mike Pullen lead the training? Oh, is he amazing?
Oh, yeah. And Jerry Anderson.
Okay.
If you haven't heard his story, read one of Maxwell's books. His story is in one of Maxwell's books, and it's wow, 15 Laws. It is really, really good.
Wow. All right, well, let's take a break right here, and we're going to let some commercials play, and then I'll be right back with the amazing Marissa Nehlson just after this break. You're listening to The Work-Life Balance with Rick Morris. Back to this Friday edition of The Work-Life Balance, visiting with Marissa Nehlson. She's the founder and CEO of Freedom Financial Group. And Marissa, you just told a story, kind of your Costa Rica experience, and we teased it just a little bit, but we talk about small things lead to great change, right? And I want to, I had some profound things, but one thing that was very small that really improved the relationship with my family was we did this segment on attitude. And what I love about it, right, is you rank yourself and how can you get better, but what's the one small thing you're going to do different? And by the way, half the time I used Amy and half the time I used you as my inspiration. I think I told you that in Costa Rica, though, but you were my inspiration in attitude. But one thing is I have an office here in the home. And so my family knocks, my son especially. My son always gets sent on the errands because he's the youngest. And so he knocks, and I didn't always have the best interaction with that. So there was one day he came in, and I kind of snapped because he knocked, and I could tell I just cut him to the bone doing that. And he tucked tail and walked out and just broke my heart. But I could tell his heart was broken. So coming out of Costa Rica and what I had modeled for everybody, I sat down with them and I said, I think it's the knocking. I think I'm in concentration mode. Just the knocking jars me. I hate to be scared, right? And so I said, let's try this. Why don't you just come in quietly and slowly, and I'll acknowledge you. And if I hold my hand up, I'm on the phone with the client. But if not, just come on in. And that has improved our relationship tremendously, because he gets sent up to talk to me all the time by his sister and by his mom. And he kind of bears the brunt sometimes. So he was afraid to come into my office and spend some time with me. And I didn't want that. And so that's a smaller thing, right? We just said, don't knock. That was the one small change, but it's made a tremendous difference in our lives.
Wow.
So speaking of all of that, right? We did all of this in Costa Rica, but your connection to Costa Rica is incredible. Like, I remember when we announced the country transformation trip, you were already, we're going, this is happening. That's my jam, right? So tell us about that connection to Costa Rica.
Oh man, I love Costa Rica, right? So I went there in 2016 to heal after my fiance passed away from cancer. And just the country and the people, when I left I came with a broken heart, but I left full of love and full of purpose. And a group of leaders, we came together and we said, what must we do together that we can't do alone? And we formed the Foundation Latin America. And then from there, we took that foundation and we started building sewing schools for women. So we're in some of the poorest areas of the country today where they just don't have transportation and all sorts of things. And a few months later, after we formed this foundation, only 3 months later, we actually had boots on the ground. And you know this, Rick, you know, nothing happens fast in Costa Rica, right? It just doesn't. It takes forever to get something done. Anyway, so we formed our foundation, and 3 months later, we built our very first school in the Chinapis Mountains there. We have a couple of schools, 3 schools up and running now. We are getting ready to do another build. We have the most extraordinary leaders running those schools, Pastor Emmanuel and Marissa, my dear friend Chris Olson. And between all of us together, we just have pooled our resources, used what we got, and the women are extraordinary. We have a 2-year I get so excited about
Come on, yeah.
We have a 2-year mentorship program, and we're actually using these roundtables that I talked about as part of our mentorship program now. So
that's awesome.
Oh, it's just I get so pumped. But more importantly for the women, they're given the opportunity to transform their lives, learn a skill, provide for their families, and our mission. Part of what I'm just so focused on is helping people with their mission. Know what your mission is, and we'll maybe talk about that later. But the mission is really to eliminate the 4 forms of poverty. And we always talk about financial, and we talk about that a lot in the United States. Let's just throw some money at it, right? Because if we throw money at it, it'll be good. But if we did that, let's go back 100 years and see all the programs that we've thrown money at that didn't work because it was just money. So we've got to get into alignment, and that's where values meet vision, and really where that alignment goes with having an emotional alignment, having a spiritual alignment, having this financial alignment, all of those things working together in the 4 forms of poverty. That's when people can't get ahead. And I'm a poor kid, man. I grew up in the trailer courts. That's where I come from. So understanding that about when you don't have enough to eat, when you don't have enough gas in the car, or you don't actually have a car, you gotta hoof it, you gotta walk it. Those are real struggles that real people are having, and couldn't walk past it. So we got together. I have the most amazing team ever in this group of leaders that are there, and our vision is really for all of Central America and South America, and that we can take this worldwide, just little groups of sewing schools, and be able to help people with, not just sewing, but all sorts of different things. And then at night now, our next initiative is to teach English, because if you learn English, that's the ticket, right? You could do so many more things. And so to teach English in each one of those schools, and we need people's help. So one of the things I always talk about is, you don't have to be a multimillionaire to do this. You just got to use what you got. And we all have something. We all have a little something. You have a little piece of knowledge on this. You have an ability to encourage. You have a ability to pass it on. So I hope that this inspires people to say, what can I do in my community, in my world? And if you don't have a specific item, come join us. We'll take it. We're excited.
And as a matter of fact, we won't stop you from throwing money at you, right? For this. If you want to throw some money at Marissa to help out in Costa Rica, look, I'll take it and give it to her. That's for sure. But
right on. That's true. That's true.
I think one of the funniest moments, just you and me, that this 2 weeks ago, right? So we're working in Maxwell, and we're, that's just nuts as it is. And I'm sitting down and finally relaxing after, being on the go for 13, 14 hours. And then you come and sit next to me and go, hey, Brothers having a conference here. And it was just one of these, no way. Right. And I was like, yeah, I know they're here. And you're like, Rick, they make sewing machines. And we were like, let's get into action, baby. Let's go. That was a lot of, so we had the double team, tracking executives down and knocking that out. So hopefully we get some fruition there. And the nonprofit. That was the other thing that I remembered. There was the nonprofit that donated the sewing machine. So hopefully we can get some traction going, and I got your back for that for sure.
You are amazing, Rick Morris. He is relentless. This man, when he found out that they were in the building, he's like, let's go find them. Let's go do it. So he's texting me, and boy, Rick, you are my hero, man. You are an action man. You are a get it done action man. Let's get some results. I love that about you.
I appreciate that. I don't do that for everybody, but for you, anytime, anywhere, we'll show up. That's for sure. So let's get into a little bit of your philosophies, because they're so important to you, and you really kind of got these 5 things that you go through, and it's part of your counseling program, part of your coaching program, not counseling necessarily, but talk to me about that a little bit.
I spend a lot of times people ask me, what do I do? How do I
what do you do here?
Yeah, what do I get a lot of that.
What's your purpose around here, for crying out loud? I get that more than anything.
Oh yeah. And one of the things that we really help people do is with these 5 keys to living the successful life you want. And as a John Maxwell team, speaker, trainer, and coach, as a philanthropist, there's all those kind of different areas, and they all come together. There's some core principles that we talk about. The first one is that you decide what you want. And, I think you've done this study, actually, the Think and Grow Rich book, right? You've read that book. It's one of the greatest books on. Right back there. Yeah, it's so good. But you gotta make a clear decision on what it is that you want. Why do you want it? Put your dreams to the test. Really, where are you going with that? Think on it, pray on it, meditate on. Use whatever words work for you. But knowing your why and for what. Just simple things. I'm a practical girl. Like I said, I come from no silver spoon. So everything I've had and gotten has been, I've been able to drink from other people's well. I've had kindness and good mentors and loving people around me. That's part of the John Maxwell culture as well, of course. But it really started with the for what question. Decide what I want and for what, because when you know why it's so important to you, that's the key. And there's some more, right? There's other things. After you decide what you want, people sit on that dream and they go, I really want that. And I really want that. But now what? Well, I tell people, jump in, baby, go all in, go all in, give it everything you got. You have one life. And for those of us who have lost people young, when they were 30, 40, 50 years old, you only get one life. And so go all in, be committed to that thing that you go, I want to build a plan, and I'm going to make a plan, and then I'm going to go all in on that plan, and I'm going to work it every single day.
Yeah, I want to pause there just for a second for you.
Yeah.
Because speech I just did today for a group is I'm taking the word want and replacing it with will. And so, everybody wants to succeed, but do you have the will to succeed? And I find that if we just change that word in our thinking, it changes the activity and direction that we're going, right? So it's, well, I want to lose weight versus I will lose weight, right? I want to get a better job versus I will get a better job. And just that, and that's even Think and Grow Rich as well, that just changing between want and will. And we talk about desires and blind faith and those types of things, wants, desires, blind faith. That kind of stuff is what's driven me. And I've been so appreciative because I get to see so many people in the John Maxwell team model the behavior that not only I want, I will receive, yes. Right? So that kind of stuff has been amazing. So I know we got through 2 of your 5 points. I want to go ahead and take a break here just so that we can get through the 3. Plus, I want to leave everybody hanging just a little bit, because if you're sitting there writing down, and you should be taking notes, you're only on point 2 right now, and there's 3 more, but you got to come back after the break to hear them. You're listening to the Work-Life Balance. This Friday afternoon, we're visiting with my dear friend Marissa, who basically is changing the world one day at a time. So Marissa, we were just talking, you've got kind of 5 keys to successfully getting what you want. And so you'd already given us decide and go all in. So what are the next 3?
Understand your mission. This one here, this is a big one, because we get so sidetracked, right? Don't we? We got this goal, we got this thing in front of us, and then we get so sidetracked with it. Never mistake your mission for position. Now, I'm a CEO of the company that I work with today, and positional leaders, John Maxwell talks about, there's a lot of talk about this in the marketplace, but positional leadership will kill your dreams. It will kill an organization. So we want to surround ourselves with servant leaders. We want to surround ourselves with people who are mission minded, who really truly fully understand the mission, and that we can express that mission to them. So they know this is what's expected. This is why we're here. And they're all bought in. I'll tell you, in the market, when I look at the marketplace today as a professional, I will hire the guy that his resume does not look as good as the other guys if he gets the mission. Because if you get the mission, you'll work harder, you'll strive harder, you'll be better, you'll work to be better. But a good bio doesn't mean you get the mission. A good bio means you had some good past history, right? So understanding the mission, that's a huge one for me. And then, never forget where you came from. You've probably heard this too, never despise the day of small beginnings. Yeah. And we all got to start someplace. So wherever that's at, look at that as the building blocks, as the stepping stones for your life. There are people that have helped me along the way. There's no reason that I should be where I'm at today, right? I don't have the fancy Ivy League education. I don't have the silver spoon growing up. I didn't have all of those door openers. I didn't have any of those things. But as a person of faith, for me, now everybody take a pill, because if you're not a person of faith, it's totally fine. You just call it whatever you want then. But for me, as a person of faith, but God, for me, there was a place where I'll never forget where I came from. I grew up on a farm. And when I learned about this, I used to do rock picking when I was a little kid. And we had to pick the rocks out of the field so you could take the plow through and plant the wheat. Well, those boulders, those things that we had to pick out of those fields, I thought about all the rocks and the stones that we throw at people, the things that try to push us down and keep us out, and what's meant for our harm can be meant as a stepping stone to get to that next level. And so now I look at that and I go, all those dream killers that threw stones, fantastic. Keep throwing them, baby, because I'm going to build them up, put some cement with them, and we're going to build a big old house. Right? We're going to climb those stones to the top of the mountain. So never forget where you came from. That's number 4 for me. Never forget where you came from. And then while you're there, wherever you're at in the journey, take someone with you. Bring somebody else along, because together is better in that experience. Bring somebody with you, whatever the experience. And then the last one for me is never waste a day. I've really been focusing on that the last few years, but I had heard Paul Martinelli actually said this, is one of my mentors. And I look to him as kind of he's my BS guy. When you say that to the audience, everybody take a breath. This is belief systems, right? But he's a magnet for making sure that people kill these limiting beliefs. And he says, where your focus goes, your energy flows. Well, you can't change yesterday, and we aren't promised tomorrow. So being focused on today, taking those small steps over time, that's part of the roundtables for me, is getting better every day. Transformation starts with me. And so if I want to transform the world, if I want to help people in my world, if I want to help my family, my relationships, my business, the productivity, my community, if I want to do those things, then I need to never waste a day. Every single day, I want to take one small, tiny action that leads me further in the direction of my dreams. And so I have a list of those things. What do I need to do today? Because today matters. One of the books that changed my life, literally one of my favorite books, is Today Matters by John Maxwell. And living out my daily dozen there, transformation begins with me. And as a leader, I got to go first and I got to eat last.
That's amazing. Yeah. So for me, I wrote a book, recently called No Day But Today. But the story behind that, right? Me losing my father at a young age, and most of the audience has heard that. Hearing those words in striving for that, but I want to add on one of my favorite John quotes that you just said is my best today is my starting place for tomorrow. And I just, that's something that's resonated with me, and is living every day as your masterpiece. But that was the best I could do for today. but that's the starting place for me to go tomorrow. And that kind of stuff. When all of that is in your brain, how do you not succeed? How do you not go after it? And what I've always loved about you is your passion with purpose. You can tell when you connect that, you just light up when you connect the dots and get who you are and what it is that drives you. And I've loved you every minute that I've known you.
Thanks.
So we talked a little bit about, your story. We talked about your 5 key points. We've talked to Costa Rica. You got so much going on. You're a high like me, right? If we don't have 17 companies to run, we're not happy. But you've also so Global Priority Solutions, that was the roundtables?
Mm-hmm. That's roundtables.
Okay, and so we've got that piece. What else? What's next?
Oh man, I'm 100 miles an hour with my face on fire, right? So I'm doing a fair amount of just national speaking on different things like this as we talk about money and mindset. I'm starting a new series, a new program on money and mindset that'll be coming out here in just a few weeks. I have a Destination Freedoms series that is financial planning workshops. I just moved to Tampa, just got a place here. My daughter's going to school here, and so that's super exciting. I'll spend some time in North Dakota and in Florida and wherever else in the world, Costa Rica. I'm on a plane a lot. I'm getting a lot of frequent flyer miles, my friend. But in Tampa and Orlando, we are actually starting our Destination Freedom financial planning series here. And this is really just a series of mini workshops to learn about money and mindset and how do you free yourself, dream big, live well. That takes a plan. And part of what I talk about with people in our Destination Freedom is that if you want to be free, you want to have a better life, you got to have a better plan. You got to have a better plan, and you got to lead that life, right? And so let's do that together. And we help them. We coach them with the right questions to ask them about their money and their mindset. Where are they at today? Because I read a book years ago called "Use What You've Got." That's huge. Use what you've got. And so wherever you're at, people say, "Well, if I just made more money," and what I tell you is, if you just made more money, you just have more problems. Right?
Exactly.
Because that is life. That I know.
Isn't that a rap song?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you rap it for me, buddy? Can you do it?
Yeah, you don't want me to go mo money, mo problems for you. I'll knock that out right now. Don't you judge my hip hop experience. I got a lot. We just lost 10,000 listeners, buddy. Oh boy. Anyway, but this is true though, right? Because they're these little action steps over time, but the things that we should have been taught in school, the basics where we should have started in school, we don't teach that. We don't teach that in schools now. We teach, all sorts of stuff that is awesome, but not real life skills. How many of you actually went to home ec? I actually didn't pass home ec. I was pretty crappy at home ec. But home economics, right? So you learn how to sew a button on a shirt, and then you learn how to cook dinner. And then we were supposed to do this little section on money and finance, but really we learned nothing. And we didn't even do that section when I went to school. We didn't even do that section on money and finance. Now college students are coming out of college right now with more debt than ever before. We got people that can't figure out how to buy a house because 10 years ago they went to school and they still have $100,000 in debt because of interest rates and so forth. We have a whole generation that doesn't know how to balance a checkbook, that doesn't know the basics of investing or how to provide for their family or protect what they've got. I deal with small business owners all day long, and I look at their tax returns and I say, you know what? This is optional what you just did. If you weren't using line 28 on the front page of your 1040, you just gave the government money for no reason. Like, help me out. Are we starting a charity program for the government, or would we like to use this for retirement? Like, what part of this do we not work with? And that's because it's really about it. Money has a mindset, and it's about educating and empowering and equipping people with the right tools to make good decisions for their lives. And I've got a call to action for a lot of the audience because, Marissa, you're exactly correct that we're not teaching a lot of these values. But one of the organizations that tries to do they do a very good job, is Junior Achievement. But I can
Yeah.
guarantee you, in every city, there's multiple holes where teachers are asking, but they don't have the volunteers to do that. So we've organized a volunteer drive, and I participate in JA every year at the high school my daughter goes to. But I've been teaching maybe 6 or 7 years now, but it's like a 6-week commitment. It's 1 hour a week, and you teach financial. And I mean, I remember the third graders, we were teaching them how your city works and how tax dollars work. And that's very, very important. And
Yeah.
we need more people who would be willing to donate their time in order to assist in junior achievement. I remember my senior year, I ran a little company, right? Because seniors, you run companies, and we won an award. And that was the first time I recognized, hey, I could run a business. I could do this.
Yes.
And I think we need to provide those opportunities for young people. But I think even more exciting was the announcement we just had at IMC. I've talked about it, but we got about 2 minutes. Talk about that announcement.
Wow, that just blew me away. The initiative that they have to really do this teaching method in the schools, right? To really teach the kids about values and go down that next road. Deborah Tillman, America's super nanny,
right?
is part of the team. I mean, she's leading the charge with children and the next generation of leaders that we're growing. You know, we're intentional in this as a team. You know, for folks that are not part of a growing environment, this team has changed my life. I think better, I grow better. I mean, all day long, when people say, what's the one thing? There's been a lot of shifts in my life, but being part of a team that stretches me, that grows me, that keeps influencing me to be better and give more. Oh man, so good.
I'm so glad you said shifts really slowly. Yeah, because so we're going to go ahead and take our final break right here. We're going to be right back with the amazing Marissa Nehlson. After this break, you're listening to Rick Morris on the Work-Life Balance. Marissa, tell everybody, how do they get in touch with you? And more importantly, how do they donate to the foundation?
Oh, fantastic. Yes, well, I would love to hear from you. First, let me give you my personal email address. It is Marissa at ffgnd.com. Or you can go to freedomfinancialgroupnd.com. And for the Foundation Latin America, this is where we're building the sewing schools. If you want to help, you want to volunteer, you want to come be part of it with us, we would love to have you. You can donate. We want to bring together and collaborate with your expertise, and that's whatever it is that you believe you've got, that's your gifting. Let's work together with it. But that is the foundationlatinamerica.org. The foundationlatinamerica.org.
And let's do your email address one more time as well.
Marissa, Marissa at ffgnd.com.
So Freedom Financial Group, North Dakota, right? But
you got
FFGND.
it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I'd love to hear from you. And really, I'd love to hear about the 5 points, because we're testing kind of how does that resonate with people. So the 5 points that I gave you today about how to live a successful life and get what you want. Tell me what you think about that, because I really want to hear your feedback. I strive to get better every single day. I want to reach people where they're at and hit things that are on point for them. So if that was on point for you, please let me know. If it wasn't, let me know.
And I want if you know a person, a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy that can hook us up with some sewing machines, or has a contact at any one of the major manufacturers, please send that to me as well. And let's see if we can't make, that's such a large expense for this school, not only the expense, but getting it over there and all the other things. And we've got to find an easier path, easier way. And really, I know what you're looking for is a partner. Yeah. You're looking for somebody who's really going to partner in your mission and belief there. So if somebody knows somebody, please reach out to me. It's at Rick A. Morris on Twitter, rick@rickamorris.com, or just do it through listener feedback on the show. We'd love to hear from you. So Marissa, one more thing. I ask everybody that's here, and it's even better is I've had multiple guests they've changed their answer. So not to put you on the spot, but what's some of the best advice you've ever received?
Boy, that's a that's a big one.
Yeah.
I'm always asking questions, right? One of the best pieces of advice that I ever got was ask better questions, because you're going to get what you ask for. So ask better questions.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So any final words for the audience?
Boy, I have to tell you, I'm so excited to be here and be with you. And just the whole point of this, of work-life balance, we all have a need here. And when you can plug into a community that speaks to that need, when you can plug into a community that helps educate you and equip you and gives you new ideas, my final word for your audience would be stay plugged in, lean in, stay plugged in to those who feed you, feed your soul, feed your growth plan, feed your model, feed your future. That's what this is about, I think.
I think so. And I'm going to echo your comment earlier, but the John Maxwell team has changed my life as well. And, so many of us were drawn to content, and obviously the teaching and incredible mentorship. But where I'm leaning in and plugging in is the family that it's created for me. So there's you and Sheree and Mark and Amanda, all, everybody, right? Nathan, we could sit here and name names, Paul and Barbara, as we said, just incredible people. And, I'm still on the high from 2 weeks ago, for sure. And that generally lasts about 4 months. And then month 5 and 6, I'm itching to get back to the IMC, right? So, it's been an incredible experience for me. And it's an uncomfortable one, because at the same time, you've got to stretch, you've got to push. But if anybody who's listening wants to join this incredible team, you can reach out to me at Rick A. Morris, hit Twitter at Rick A. Morris. Be happy to talk to you about the program, what it is that we can do for you. But you're watching, living proof day after day. There's JMT is truly changing the world.
Yeah.
Anything to say to that, Marissa?
Wow, it's one of the best decisions I made in my life, to put myself in a growth environment where others are ahead of me and they're leading the way, and where we're taking others with us. So if they're not where I'm at, I'm taking others with me, and they're taking me with them. It's a beautiful thing. This giving, intentional, growth, leadership-based community. Love it. Love it. Love it.
And and I've seen a ton of organizations, but an organization who truly lives their values and believes in believing in people, valuing people, and loving people unconditionally. How do you not become just super pumped to be around people who are drawn to that content, right? It's who are you in the room with? I was in the room, right? So, Marissa, we've got to have you back. So I need to put you on the spot, because this is like a videotape confessional right now. You committing to come back to my show?
I'm committing. Yes, I'll come back when I when I get ready to launch the Money and Mindset, and then our Destination Freedom series, because we're going to have an online university for that content. So we're really excited about that too.
We can't wait. We can't wait. So I want to thank you for taking the time. I know the audience loved and enjoyed you, and I always enjoy, spending time with you. So I love you, and you're just an incredible person in my life. And I'm so thankful that we met.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So next week, gang, I'm actually going to take the week off, a little work-life balance on my own. But as we stated before, I'll be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Monday, Tuesday, Buffalo, New York, Wednesday, and then we're going to go check out Dragon Con, my daughter and I, in Atlanta. So we'll be there the 30th through the 4th, through the 2nd, sorry. The following week, we get to spend a little bit of time home, and we'll have a fantastic show queued up for you on the 7th when I come back live. Until then, thank you so much for being a part of it. We ask you to still stay tuned to the Voice America Business Network, because there's a fantastic show coming up right behind us. But until next Friday, we'll talk to you again about the work-life balance. You've been listening to Rick Morris.
Thank you for joining us this week. The Work-Life Balance with Rick Morris can be heard live every Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific Time and 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Business Channel. Now that the weekend is here, it's time to rethink your priorities and enjoy it. We'll see you on our next show.